instead of addressing why I haven't uploaded for over a year, let's talk about something else that's been on my mind. It's just a game. I get it every video. I mean, you kind of have to expect to when you make the kind of content I do, and admittedly I do romanticize the games I play. I look into the subtext and run away with ideas and thoughts I have that may even scope beyond the original creator's intent. But we're not talking about whether a single idea is canon or not. We're reducing an entire medium down to its most superficial layer. It's an ignorance that's honestly kind of dangerous, because hidden inside of these games is the very basis of what makes us function as a society in the first place. These games are the reason you are who you are. And if you take an honest look at the impact games have had on society as a whole, it's impossible to say it's just a game.
Hollywood, 1946. Amid the glitz and the glitter of a bustling young movie town at the height of its golden age, the United States government takes foothold in the movie business, as a witless William Wilkerson begins outing communist sympathizers in The Hollywood Reporter.
Are you now? Have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Which led to one of the lower parts of American history, both for justice of the people and naming of government committees. Seriously, the House Un-American Committee? The WHOC?
Hey, Rach, can we go to the store? Can you get stuff for WHOC?
So, this committee begins to go on a witch hunt for anybody related to anything close to communism, which, if you take a second to think about, is insane. What the US government did during the Red Scare was absolutely tyrannical. It'd be like you worked at an accounting company that used Excel, and there was a rival company that used Google Sheets, and you were curious about what it was, so you asked a coworker about it, and later got promoted over him, and the coworker tells your company that you'd been asking about Google Sheets, and if you admit to doing so, they would take your accounting license. It sounds insane, but that's essentially what they did, even throwing people in jail under the guise of contempt of court if they exercised their Fifth Amendment rights. So why? Well, that answer lies in the basic building blocks of storytelling: context and subtext. Context is a word that, in the 15th century, originally meant the weaving together of two languages. It's a meaning it no longer holds today, but I bring it up because I think it's really useful in understanding what context means. So if we, as its original meaning states, weave together two languages and take the con of Spanish, meaning with, and text of English, meaning text, we can see it means with text. So context is anything with the text. However, when we expand this into a visual medium, as we do in movies and, of course, games, this extends to mean anything that we see and hear as well, anything within the factuality of the scene. This is the basis of what you take in. It's the way the character looks. It's what you hear. It's the world we're in. If you think about it, governments couldn't even silence artists' critiques against them when the work was more singular in nature, like books and paintings. But now in the Red Scare's emerging world of film and television, and today's emerging world of gaming, governments have to be far more aggressive, because artists have always challenged the status quo, pushing for those in power to have less, usually in response to an abuse of that power. And now these artists had some power of their own with the money that movies made, and an entire industry just waiting to be subordinate. And as we fast forward to today, that threat only becomes stronger for them. I mean, look at the credits from a movie back during the Red Scare, and now look at the credits from a game made just a year ago. The sheer number of people working on these things is enormous, and the ability to hide a secret message in plain sight is all too easy. Take my recent work with game theory, which, for those of you who don't know, is a big reason as to why I haven't uploaded in the past year. I've been really busy. You see, when I left my job at the Fine Bros to go work with game theory, I didn't leave a job I really loved, but I left a lot of people I did. There was this little inside joke that was a line of voiceover for an episode that I'd told the producer and my good friend Derek to do as, I quote, a coked up children's show host. He gave us this.
You found a secret!
It quickly became the joke of the office, writing it down places to hide, turning it into memes that we'd share internally.
Oh, what is this? Oh! You found a secret! You found a secret!
There, you found a secret. That's what that noise means.
And now that I don't get to work with him every day, I wanted to find a way to tell him I haven't forgot. But it's just a YouTube video, right? So if context was the body of storytelling, subtext would be its soul. It's what breathes life and a sense of reality into the context of our narratives. And just like context, we can break down subtext to see that it's referring to these white letters you click before you hit the notification bell. In reality, subtext is, as you might expect, anything that lies beneath the text, or the context in this case. It's something you see and probably recognize without even thinking about it in any piece of media you consume. Take this scene from The Last of Us Left Behind. What you need to know at this point is Riley and Ellie are old friends catching up when they stumble upon this old photo booth and decide to take a picture.
So... You want to keep exploring? Hell yeah.
You felt that, right? The romantic tension? Even though nothing they said alluded to a relationship of any kind, it's the way they said it, and the things they didn't say that told us everything we needed to know. A lingering gaze, a nervous biting of a lip. Just because it's obvious doesn't mean it's not subtext. In this case, it's very important because at the end of this DLC, these two characters kiss. But it works because we knew everything we needed to know about their relationship without them ever having to say a word. And while this is a great example of subtext, it's far from the only one, because subtext defines anything veiled in your story, no matter how complex. And it can take several different shapes. Relations to societal norms at the time it was written, mirroring a well-known archetype to expand your knowledge of the character. Even the context itself has a huge role in the subtext. Let's go back to the scene with Riley and Ellie. It takes place in a photo booth, something archaic from their society that paints a very different picture to the audience, as these booths hold a very romantic tone to them, as not only is it a very intimate space for two people to share a private moment away from the world together, but in society, it's something we've seen over and over again when relating to a couple. These elements of context and subtext can be manipulated in so many different ways to tell our stories. Just watch how the meaning of this song lyric changes as the context around it does. Nothing's gonna change my world. 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 What you just did? How you can understand a story that wasn't told to you? That's reading the subtext. But there's another more common name for it: empathy. It's a thing that some say makes us human, the ability to understand someone else's situation. It's the backbone of most notable religions. The golden rule: treat others as you'd like to be treated. It's a common thread between most major religious texts, and when broken down, it's just telling you to use your empathy to make your moral decisions. Now, even though some surprisingly far more educated individuals might believe that empathy is a psychic connection, I think they just underestimate how computer-like humans can be. It's my theory that empathy is just the brain's ability to insert a person's experience and knowledge into a hypothetical situation where a person can think and feel for somebody as if it were themselves. It's why we can feel sad in movies. It's not a psychic connection between two people, it's your brain simulating how somebody might be feeling. And the more you know about somebody or can project a similar experience onto their situation, the more accurately you'll be able to understand how they're feeling. You remember when the White House put up that violence in video games montage? It included this super harrowing shot where you're opening fire into a crowd at an airport. I found it ironic because I vividly remember this level too, but for another reason. Because it was in a game that was reliant on you enjoying the mechanic of shooting other people for it to make money. And the sole purpose of this level is to force the player to question the ethics of shooting another human by asking you to shoot people just like yourself. Lots of people today want to say that video games are the cause of violence and the reason behind all these mass shootings, but that couldn't be a more short-sighted view. Because in today's age of absent parenting, it could be the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a game that taught him to empathize. You know, I didn't really make this video to defend myself against these comments, but it was important to me that I address the idea behind them, because this is something that actually matters. Possibly more than anything I'll ever talk about on this channel. Because our world is expanding rapidly. The internet has brought us together in a mix of different people, beliefs, and needs. And when we don't understand something or someone, our empathy can't work properly. Art is becoming such an important part of our modern lives because it gives us an insight into other worlds. You might not have lived the Black experience, but you could watch Atlanta and try and understand it a little bit better so you can be part of a solution instead of part of a problem. You might not be gay, but you could play The Last of Us and experience the intimacy of a budding homosexual romance. The world isn't going to get smaller. In fact, the longer we exist, the more niche our communities will become, and the more we'll all have to do if we want to continue to grow and survive as a species without blowing the planet up. People fear what they don't understand, so much so that that fear can become hate. You have a responsibility as a person living in the world today to try and understand those you share a world with. Their stories are out there, the movies that they pour themselves into, the games that they've made. Art gives us an entertaining way to understand each other, and that can be the catalyst to start the discussions on subjects that might be harder to approach. All you have to do is hear the story they're trying to tell you. You can choose not to see it if you want. Sadly, so many people do. But when you take an honest look, you'll know it was never just a game.